Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to another Harry Potter Hogwarts battle. This is the Monster Box of Monsters expansion, which is of course based off the Monster Book of Monsters um, from the books and movies. So yeah, this is the first expansion that came out, which ties really well into the game. So I went in the description. I have links for the previous two videos I've done with the full box set. The first one I went over the core set and kind of explain how it kind of ties into these sets. And then the second video actually went through the full core set of all the different cards. Just as a reminder for people that maybe didn't watch the first video or didn't go back yet, is what this does is this actually, after you've played through all the stuff, there's seven games, little mini boxes of games in the core set that build up through the campaign, go through all the movies. You get done, then you purchase one of these two expansions, either this one or the Potions and Charms, and they're going to have 4 extra little boxes you can play as. And then you play them, you add each one in individual, so much like the other one, adding more things each time you along. This is going to do the same idea until after you've played all 4. Then you have a full mini expansion to add into the game. So it's a really cool idea. This is going to add some brand new stuff to the game as well. So let's go ahead and kind of take a look at the beginning instruction. So a couple of things it's going to do is a new playable character is Luna Lovegood. So she's going to have her own starting cards. And some other extra cards there, so we're going to see that. So other than that, basically the game is the exact same. So instead, we're adding creatures to the game as well. So it does say, Corbin, this game would be best to play combined with the Hogwarts battle content after you complete Game 7. Could you mix it in earlier? So it's always a question. People are like, could I mix this in at like game 3 and then play like box 1? So like we have, like box 1 here, could you play like box 1 mixed in with game 3, box 2 with game 4, box 5, or game 5 with, or I guess it would be 4, 5, 6, 7, and you can mix in with the last ones. Could you do that and play each one together? You could. I would definitely say at least play through the full game first, and then if you want to go back and add them, you could do that, but I think it's just ideally the idea is just to mix it in with everything else. Just for maybe how powerful the characters and enemies are in here. So new components. So let's just take a look at the box here for a sec. We have our 4. These are called boxes. The other ones are called games. These are boxes, and then the other expansion are called packs. It's just to separate them all out. So we do get a couple of things. We get a handful of new influence tokens, just so we have some more to help make up for another character. And we get 1 harp token, which will be used. I just didn't pull it out of the bag. So you're leaving the box 2 through 4 and the sorting cards. So we do have a bunch more sorting cards. So I love about this expansion is this. So we have the Luna Lovegood starting cards. We have some new detention cards which are separate. We have Patronus cards. We have Horcrux cards. So in the previous one, there wasn't a special one for Horcruxes. They were just mixed in with all the dark arts stuff. We have ones for the new creatures. So if you want creatures in one, villains in another. So again, if you don't want to play the creature expansion, you can just take these out. We have a special one for encounters, which are a new thing in the game. But then they also added ones for games 1 through 7. So these are your actual games. And then they have boxes for 1 through 4. So for this one, the core set only had basically everything separated as if you were playing the game. You completed everything, you could mix everything together. So you're separating your starting decks, your Hogwarts deck, your villain decks, your locations. Here you can actually separate everything now by game if you like instead. So if you want to, I played through everything, now I want to separate everything back out. So we can always replay from the beginning and play build-ups, and maybe if you're grabbing brand new players you can play through, or you're passing it off to somebody else and they want to learn how to play. Or you can always just mix everything together. So it's kind of cool that they added the extra divider decks in there. Alright, what else do we have in here? Alright, so how does box 1? So use your locations from boxes 1. So the same way as the original game. Shuffle these together with the original Dark Arts cards. So this is like if we finished game 7 and now you're playing box 1 as if it was like essentially like game 8. You're just adding the new things. So we're going to add new Dark Arts to that. But we have new things called encounters. So these are stacked up in the center of the game board. So these will be like listed number 1 through 3, much like locations. You have to play them in order. Creatures and 2 villain creature cards. Shuffle together 5 randomly chosen villain cards from the Hogwarts battle. Place the Game 5 Voldemort face up on the bottom of the stack. Reveal the top 3 cards. So this is where I said where you could potentially mix this in with Game 5, because you're playing against Game 5 Voldemort. And that's sort of the idea, is I think they're supposed to be kind of hand in hand. But you don't have to do it that way if you don't want to. There's also some new stuff. We have Hogwarts cards, and we have 20 new detention cards. Shuffle the Globe Hogwarts cards into the original Hogwarts battle cards. Place the 20 detention cards in a separate stack near the game, and we'll see what those do. Your 5 heroes in one game. Game 6 proficiency. Place the hero card in the chosen proficiency above your player board. So if you want to play as Luna, you can do that. We also got a new proficiency, which doesn't start till Game 6. So if you played this starting at Game 5, you'd want to ignore that proficiency because you wouldn't have unlocked them yet. Then we have the new Luna deck. So creature cards are going to be just like villain cards for the most part. Up the top, it'll say it's a name with a creature type. It'll have a little symbol for that as well. What box it belongs to for reshuffling. Its ability that's going to do, what happens when you defeat it, and its health. So every single thing basically is the exact same as a villain, with the exception of it has a little expansion symbol and like the little different symbols on there. So yeah, setting up the game board is going to be basically the same as before, except now we have our encounters here. We have a little Voldemort on the bottom there. We have our detention deck up here. Otherwise, everything else gets mixed in there. Now, here's the thing, though, is with this box set, you get Luna as another character, but it's still only a 4-player game, unless you just want to makeshift your own board, because it doesn't come with one. The Potions and Charms expansion comes with an additional board, so you can actually play up to 5 players. So again, if you ever want to play 6, you have to make up your own thing. And then we have brand new encounter cards. So encounter cards are a lot like Dark Arts, and locations are kind of a mixture-ish. Not really locations, they're like more Dark Arts. So they have the box identifier where they're going to be, the name, it's an encounter, and then behind the encounters is associated creatures. Creatures must be shuffled into the villain stack as part of the setup. So if you want to use the encounters, you have to include the creatures and or villains that are listed on there. So it does actually kind of change up who you're fighting against every time versus just randomly shuffling them. Then you have the encounter effect, which is the same as like drawing a Dark Arts. It shows you the beginning thing, and then how to complete them. So instead of dealing damage like you would a creature or villain, you have some specific thing you need to do to beat it, and then you get its reward. Many encounters require you playing or acquiring cards to complete it. If you meet these requirements, you may collect the card at the end of your turn. On subsequent turns, you'll be able to use the reward. Note, even if the reward says once per game, you still may only use it a reward on your turn. So you can't use it on somebody else's. So, very simple. Alright. Gameplay is going to stay relatively the same. So we're going to reveal and resolve the Dark Arts event and the encounter event. So each encounter has a gameplay effect that will trigger if certain conditions are met. Check this after resolving the Dark Arts. You have to do these in order. Resolve the villain and creature abilities. Some will be triggered during this sup. Then take Hogwarts. Play Hogwarts card and take hero action. So that's like normal. Except we have a new thing, banishing cards. This new tool introduced into some cards is banished. When a hero banishes a card, it is removed from their deck for the rest of the game. If the card is a detention card, return it to the detention stack. Otherwise, place the card in the discard pile in the center of the game board. Cards can be either played for their effect or banished, but not both. And then there's something that says assign attack or influence to a creature or villain, so they might have the influence symbol instead. So you're buying them off rather than attacking them. So unlike attack, only one influence can be placed on a creature each turn. So it'll take at least 6 turns to defeat Norbert. So that's also a little bit of a change. And use your influence to acquire new cards. So one thing with the banish thing is this is one thing lots of deck building games need. So it's kind of odd they didn't have it in the core set, but it's nice they introduced it later. Is sometimes your deck starts to get bloated if you buy too many cards, or as you start purchasing and acquiring more higher level cards, you start getting stuff that are 5s and 6s and 7s, you might want to get rid of the cards that are 1s, you costed 2s and 3s and 4s, because they're going to have better abilities. So like a 4-cost card might be like Like, it might say deal 1 damage or gain 1 health. And you might get a 6-cost card that says deal 1 damage and gain 1 health. So why wouldn't you just get rid of the easier one so you can draw the better one better or more often? So that's why banishing can definitely help to like thin that stuff back out. At the end of your turn, the first encounter limits the number of heroes you can draw at the end of the turn if they have 4 or less health. However, the active hero is stunned, their health will reset first. Since you're completing an encounter, before replacing cards at your turn, check to see if you completed the encounter. If you did, claim the card. You may use your reward on a subsequent turn. So you don't get this immediately. It waits till the end of the turn to check that. Lord Voldemort. As in previous games, Lord Voldemort cannot be assigned damage immediately until all villains and creatures are defeated. So you have to defeat everything. And the game ends the same way. If you complete it, pick the box 2. If you didn't, start over. Some additional rules. Creatures versus villains. The top of the card is an identifier, villain creature or villain creature. This identifier affects certain abilities on cards. For example, Harry's Firebolt will not give a reward if it defeats a creature. Conversely, the Death Eaters will not cause heroes to lose a heart if a creature is revealed. Note, including the box 1 are 2 villain creatures for the Basilisk from Game 2 and the Dementors from Game 3. These will replace their villain cards in the Hogwarts battle, because now they count as both. So you should actually just remove them ones and add in the new ones. And then encounters when setting up any game from the Monster Box and Monsters expansion. First select the creature and villains referenced at the top of the encounter card. You will then shuffle these together with a randomly chosen set of villains and or creatures to bring the total number of cards in the stack to 12, including Lord Voldemort's card. We talked about banishing. In all instances, either from rewards or defeating creatures or playing Hogwarts cards, banishing card is optional. When a detention is banished, it's placed back on the stack. So if it says you can banish, you don't have to. Detention cards are brand new ones. Occasionally, heroes may acquire detention cards. Like starting cards, detention cards have no value. These have no effect when you in your hand. However, you'll discard a detention to a Dark Arts event, villain, or creature ability. Even Hogwarts cards immediately lose 2 health. Banishing a detention card will not cause you to lose health. So new hero cards, including box 1, are new hero cards which you may choose instead of the Hogwarts Game 7 heroes. So you have some new additional heroes, which is fun. And then Luna's cards are a little bit different. I'm not going to look over hers too much, but I have Hogwarts cards. As an optional rule, once per game, any hero may forego acquiring cards to place all 6 available cards on the bottom of the Hogwarts stack, replacing them with 6 new cards. This is helpful if you find you are stuck on counters, or cannot acquire cards that are too expensive. And then advancing wizards, you can just make the game harder. And then we have some stuff there. So it says, in addition to the new sorting cards for the expansion, there are sorting cards including for the original 7 game boxes. These will be helpful to make space where games 1 through 7 boxes were if you want to store all your components in the original Hogwarts battle box. So we'll look at that at the one of the end of the videos. Awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look at box number 1 and see what we all have in here. So, for box number 1, just going to sort these out a little bit quick. So yeah, there's a lot of new stuff in here. Definitely fun. If you're having an expansion, you may as well have new cards, new abilities, new things like that. Now, here's always a question someone's going to ask inevitably. Since this has its own location, it has its own Dark Arts cards, it has stuff. Could you just play this by itself? And not mix it in with any of the sets. So, like, could I just, like, if I own the original box, could I take Harry, Hermione, Ron, and then Luna, for example, have them just play against the stuff in this, like, play box 1, play box 2, without mixing it with any of the other stuff? No, probably not, because if you did, you have to almost start with, like, the basic versions of the characters. Like you would be from game 1, so you wouldn't have any proficiencies, you wouldn't have your updated hero cards. But even there, that might end up, the problem is the cards in here might be too powerful for them, but it might be too powerful the other way. I'm not for sure, because again, I haven't went through all the cards yet, but I think the other problem you're going to run into is if if you do that, if you just play it with just this set, you're not going to have enough different Hogwarts cards or Dark Arts cards. I think like the Dark Arts cards in here, you wouldn't have enough to do it, but I could be wrong. I mean, it'd be interesting for someone to try it and see what happens. I would just plan mixing it in with the rest of them. So first of all, we're going to look at Luna's deck, and then we'll look at the hero cards. So she has her 7. I'm going to zoom my camera back in for this. She has her 7 Alohomora cards, just like all of the other characters do. Everything in the way. Now it's going to say box 1 at the top. Same thing, everything else same, except it has the little symbol down here of the double dragons. And her name, of course. Then she has her signature cards. She is going to have her item card, which is the Spectre Specs. It says, gain 1 influence. You may reveal the top Dark Arts event and choose one. Put it back on the top or discard it. So very cool. Now, is there a downside to discarding Dark Arts cards? No, they're just going to then get reshuffled if you go through them all anyhow. So it's not a big deal if you run out of them. Obviously, it gets you out of your way, so if it's one you couldn't deal with. She has the Lion Hack. Gain 1 influence. If another hero has a broom or Quidditch gear in hand, also gain 1 attack. And then she has her ally, which is Crumplehorn Snortnack, which says choose one, gain 1 health, or gain 1 attack, or gain 2 health. So our allies are the same. I just want to kind of point out with, like, I like that her card abilities, I think, are a little bit better than the base game characters. I think theirs were kind of a little bit more generic. So I do wish, I know everyone's like, oh, I wish they had upgraded abilities. I do wish they had more specific things. Like her second card here, like by itself, just gains 1. Great, that's awesome. It's not bad for starting. But they have to have a broom or Quidditch, otherwise they don't do anything. But I like this idea. I wish more of the other cards would have been like that. Like maybe Hermione would have been like, if another player reveals 2 spells, or something like that, or they reveal a spell, like they can gain a point 2 or something. Like a bonus that like maybe Harry's had to do with allies, or something like that. Or even like Ron, even if his was like, if another player shows like a Weasley, because there's a lot of different Weasleys in the game, and that would have been a neat thing to make him a little bit more specific than some of the other characters. But it's what it is. So, alright, then let's take a look at our character cards. We're going to start with Luna's. So this is the first time you draw extra card on your turn, any one hero gains 2 health. So this is supposed to be about the equivalent of the level 7. So if you start back at game 1, obviously don't use this card because they don't have any abilities on game 1. If you started at game 3 when they have their ability cards, or even, why do I want to say they have a second one? Yeah, if you start the game 3 one where they have their first abilities, this might be a little bit more powerful than that. I think one way you could even just reduce it, maybe just like make that game 1 health instead, but you have to kind of see how that works. Alright, then we have Hermione Granger's, who is, if you play 4 or more spells on your turn, any 2 heroes each gain 1 attack. Harry Potter, of course, has each time a location marker is removed from the location, all heroes gain 1 health. For Ron Weasley, says if you assign 3 or more damage and or influence on your turn, all heroes gain 1 health. And then Neville Longbottom, the first time each hero gains a health on your turn, that hero chooses 1. Gain 1 additional health or gain 1 influence. So is that really cool? I think the idea, though, is it's supposed to be, these are supposed to take place more like if the ones in 3 are supposed to take place in movie 3, like after they're more, a little bit, they look, when they kind of do their big age change, these are probably supposed to be about like game 5 heroes, game 4 or 5, probably 5 just you're fighting Voldemort the first time, and then the game 7 heroes you get at the end. So I think it's kind of like pushes you back kind of into like the mid-range. So very interesting. But then we do get a new proficiency. The care of magical creatures. So we can add this in there as well. The first time you assign 1 or more damage or influence to a creature. Any one hero gains 2 hearts. If you defeat a creature, also remove 1 control from a location. So yeah, this is again only going to be useful if you're actually using the creature's expansion, but still a fun, different way to play. Cool. Let's look at our brand new Hogwarts decks. We have our new Hogwarts cards. We have a new ally in Fang. Any one hero gains 1 influence and 2 hearts. We have Argus Finch and Mrs. Norris. Draw 2 cards, then choose 1. Discard any 1 card or banish a card in your hand. So it's going to be really great. Again, as you go through, you can start getting rid of stuff. You can get rid of your starter deck cards, like, right? You start with your first Alomoras. These are the ones they probably expect you to get rid of, where it's just gain 1. Get rid of that for, like, if you have Fang, like, right? Fang is going to be a better card than one of those, because it gains, any hero gains 1 and 2 health, versus just you gaining 1. So if you get rid of that, then you have more of a chance to draw something like Fang. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 copies of, is that right? Yeah, 6 copies of Trigio. So gain 1 influence. You may banish a card in your hand. If it is an item, draw a card. So again, arguably, this is better than one of the Alomoras spells. As you're still gaining 1, but you have the option to continually banish a card and potentially draw a new one. I know in the first game I talked about, people talked about upgrading your deck and making stuff better. And I did point out that I had 1 card early on from the box 1, or from game 1 set, that you could have replaced one of the Alomoras spells to let you draw an extra card, because that way you're getting into your decks a little bit quicker. This could be another option, to replace one of your Alomoras with this. You're still only gaining 1 influence. Obviously, right off the bat, like the first turn or 2, you're not going to want to banish a card. But this could definitely give you options. Then you guaranteed to everyone in their deck would have 1 card to let you banish something later on. So that could be pretty potential, without having to hope to find it in the deck. We have 2 copies of Finite Incantanum. Remove 1 control from the location. If it's in your hand, only reveal 1 dark art event during your turn. So this could be a very fun spell to like stop dark arts from popping up. We have 2 copies of Old Socks for Gabi. I like that they gave two Old Socks. They could have just done 1 called Old Socks. Gain 1 influence. If another hero has a house elf in hand, it gains 2 attack. If you discard this card, gain 2 influence. So very cool. I also feel like this is another thing they could have pushed on a little bit more in this game, is giving creatures or character allies subtypes. They could have been like student, teacher, ally. You know, the little keywords, like then you could have had more cards trigger off of. Like so far, again, we have stuff that triggers off of like different things that could go, even had. It's a fun idea to think about. Sorry about the little tangent, but it's a fun idea to think about having extra little keyword triggers on there. But the thing is, you could end up getting too many different ones, or very specific ones. Like we did have like the Quidditch gear or the broom. And it's like you could just kind of even combine all of them, like, oh, they all have a Quidditch keyword, and then it could have all tagged together, or all the Weasleys had Weasleys. But it's really neat for some of the other things. Like, we have enough characters that do shape-shifting, whether it's a werewolf or something else like that. That could have been a neat keyword. We have a bunch of different animals. So there could have been some interesting stuff that would kind of look like the house elf type idea. And then the last one we have is the harp. So gain 1 influence, or gain 1 attack. Choose a creature. That creature's ability does not trigger until the start of your next turn. Use the harp as a reminder. So a very specific card that has a token. And they could have done more of this. They had the 1 protection spell in the big box that had some tokens. So they could have had other cards that gained extra tokens as well, which would have been interesting enough. Alright. Then what we have is we have 20 detention cards. So detention cards stay outside of the deck, but they have the same backs as your Hogwarts, because they can get shuffled into your deck if you get them. And it just says, if you discard this, lose 2 health. If you do not lose 2 health when you place this in your discard pile at the end of your turn. So only if a card says discard. This could be, again, a Dark Arts card pops up to make you discard a card from your hand. This could be you specifically choosing to discard it for an effect of one of your cards. I don't know if we had any in here that said to discard. Yeah, so like we played, like, for example, if you played Fink, draw 2 cards and choose one to discard, you could discard the item card, but then you take 2 health. But even like this, though, you banish it. Why wouldn't you just banish this card instead of discarding it? Or we had our spell, which lets us banish an item card to draw a card, so you can banish your detention card and draw a card to replace it. So there's kind of ways to add some stuff to kind of get around the detention. Otherwise, what's the point of these? These are what a lot of deck builder games do, is they put weakness or vulnerability type cards in your deck that just don't do anything. So now if I draw my 5 cards and this is one of them, I now effectively only have 4 cards in my hand. It just gives me less things. And if you get too many of these built up, you could end up with a terrible hand of like 2 cards and then 3 detentions, right? Or if you get really bad, you have all 5 detentions, you gain too many. Then you just don't have a turn. Some games give other ways to get rid of this. This just gets some other different ways, other different things to do, like banishing cards. Cool. Let's hop into our locations. So our first location are the castle gates. So this is a 5 cost control location. Then we have Hagrid's Hut. So each turn reveal 2 Dark Arts cards. And I said this in the last video too, the core set. If they need some more of these, had some extra abilities on them, just to affect what they did. Just could have been, creatures having extra health, or they can't take more than 1 damage per turn if Hagrid's Hut's out. And I get those are negative effects, which then I always found that I think that's an interesting concept, and some of the cards that have negative towards you effects instead of just positive or one-time effects, or it could have just been when this comes up, heal all creatures by 1, right? Oh, so if this flips up, all the creatures heal, so the enemies get a reward for healing you. But yeah, if there's ever a negative effect, like creatures can only take 1 damage, well here, it would give you the option of like, oh, I'm having trouble taking out creatures because of that. So do I, do I let the villains take over this location so I can defeat more creatures? But then you're risking them winning a little bit more. So I think it's kind of an interesting dynamic to that. But that's just me thinking. We have the Great Hall, and this one has 7 different spots, and it does 3 Dark Arts. Alright, so far our brand new creatures. I'm going to look at the old stuff first. So we bring in the Basilisk again from Game 2. Let's get a villain creature type on there now. So this is heroes do not draw your cards. You still draw 5 at the end of your turn. So all heroes draw a card. Remove 1 control from the location. And then the Dementors also become a villain creature. Active hero loses 2 health. And all heroes gain 2 health and remove 1 control from the location. So those will target either one. And then, of course, we're going to get a Fluffy here from box 1. For each item in hand, the active hero chooses 1. Lose 1 heart or discard a card. And then all heroes gaining 1 heart and draw a card. So this can be bad if you have a bunch of detentions in your hand, right? Because you'd have to either lose 1 health anyhow or discard them. Which means then you lose 2 health, so you're definitely not going to do that. We have Norbert. Active heroes lose 1 health, plus an additional 1 health for each detention in hand, so that one hurts you for having those. All heroes may bash a card from their hand or discard pile. So now this one again is going to have the 6 influence, so you have to buy him off. We have the Cornish Pixies. For each card with an even value, the active hero loses 2 hearts. And then all heroes gain 2 hearts and 1 influence. Now, starting cards don't have 0, they have nothing. And same with detention. So just mention they aren't even or odd. They're nothing because there are other games where sometimes starting cards have 0 so that they have a cost to affect things like that. And our last creature is the Troll. Active hero chooses one, lose 2 heart, or put a detention in your discard pile. All heroes gain 1 health and may banish an item or hand from our discard pile. So y'all kind of work with detention, kind of play around with that new theme. Alright, we have some brand new Dark Arts. We have 2 copies of Menacing Growl. So Menacing Growl says all heroes lose 1 heart for each card in hand with the exact value of 3. So early on, it's going to hurt. We have 1 Blast Ended. The previous hero loses 1 heart and discards a card. We have 1 Slugulus Eructo. All heroes lose 1 heart for each creature. We have 2 Raging Trolls. The next hero loses 2 hearts and adds 1 control to the location. And then we have 2 copies of Inquisitorial Squad. Active hero puts in a detention in their hand. All heroes then lose 1 heart for each detention in their hand. Alright, then we have our events. These are brand new ones. We're going to start with event 1, which is Papisti Pesteromi. At the end of this has to use Cornish pixies have to be in the deck. At the end of each turn, if the active hero has 4 hearts or less, they only draw 4 cards instead of 5. To complete, play 2 cards with an even value on 1 turn. Each time you play a card with an even value, any 1 hero gains 1 heart. So then you get that reward. It's kind of a neat thing. Then you get kind of a permanent reward, which is a little bit of an upgrade for the game. We have Students Out of Bed, which have Norbert and the Trolls. Each time a hero shuffles your deck, put a detention in it first. So that's going to give you a lot of detentions if you don't defeat this quick. But now, here we have the dice roll. So this would be like one of these ones where it might be more difficult to complete if you didn't start with Game 7. Like, you shuffle this into, like, Game 5, because Game 4 is when the dice are introduced, so there might not be a lot of cards in there that have dice rolling until you get to the later sets. Once per game, you may discard this. Then all heroes may bash a card in their hand or discard pile. And then the last one is third floor corridor. So you have to use Fluffy, and that says heroes do not collect the rewards for defeating villains and creatures. To complete, play 2 allies, 2 items, and 2 spells in 1 turn. So now here's an interesting thing. That's 6 cards. You only draw 5 on your turn. So for you to be able to play all of these to defeat this, you're going to have at least 1 card in your hand that lets you draw an additional card. And then you have to hope that that's something that'll play good for you. Once per game, you may discard this when you collect the reward of the top villain or creature in the discard pile. So cool. So that was box number 1. So we have some really fun new stuff in the game there. So let's hop into box number 2 and see what we're going to add in here. So this should, for the most part, be a lot of the more same stuff. So we have new creatures and dark arts, all that fun stuff. But we're going to start with our brand new rule sheet. So location cards use only box 2, so it's the same thing there. Dark arts, shuffle all these together. Use only the box 2 encounters. Stacking order. Creature cards. Shuffle these cards with Peter Pettigrew, Fenrir Greyback, and 6 other randomly selected villains or creatures to place the game 6 Voldemort on the bottom face up. So now we're fighting him with those other 2 special guys. So you can obviously shuffle in the creatures from this set as well, but you can also mix in the other ones. I think that you'll have to use some of these guys for the encounters, though. Hogwarts, shuffle all the Hogwarts cards in there. Then we have a brand new creature, guys, and a reminder token. Carefully punch out, then recycle it. So the creature die, we have a brand new die here. I'm going to set that down for a second to grab this die out. So we have our 4 colored dice for each of the different houses. And now we're going to have a creature die, which is going to have a couple of symbols. We have 1 heart, a double heart. We have a 1 card draw, a double card draw, an attack, and then we also have a location counter. So very interesting. So it says some of the creature rewards and Hogwarts cards will let you roll the creature die. Your die will generate one of the 6 effects that benefit heroes as follows. So 1 heart gets you 1 heart, 2 hearts gets you 2 hearts. Attack, all heroes gain 1 heart, 2 hearts, or gain an attack token. All heroes draw a card, all heroes draw 2 cards, or remove 1 counter from a location. So this is essentially a lot more powerful than the Hogwarts dice, with the optional side of it is being that you have a 1 of 6 chance of drawing stuff. The other one, you had 3 chances to draw a heart or 3 for a card. This, now you have a little bit less chance. But this will also help you, like we saw in the last one, you had 1 encounter you needed to roll a die for. You can do this dice as well, so it adds just another die to the game. So very, very fun. Hero set, place your chosen hero in game 6 proficiency above your board. Remember, you do not start any game with additional Hogwarts cards. So this lets you use your proficiencies now. So I think, again, the way they make this sound is like you should have almost played this with box 5, then box 6, then box 7, then 5, 6, 7. But then we have 1 extra box. Yeah, so I think they wanted you to upgrade to your next one. So I think the other ones are just to have, like, not see your proficiency as of yet. And then now the game gets a little bit harder, because you gain them in that. Alright, so everything else I think basically stays the same. Creature abilities, playing Hogwarts, take them. Yeah, so there's some special things in there, but we're not going to get into too much of them. So here also are counters. So we'll have these, so if you end up with something that needs you to place counters on the board to show that you've beaten something, like we had with the Dark Arts cards and that, we just have some extra tokens to go with that, just to keep track of those. Alright, so our brand new Hogwarts deck is, we have Buckbeak, everyone's favorite Buckbeak. Draw 2 cards and discard any 1 card. If you discard an ally, gain 2 attack. I do like these where it's like, we do specific things, you gain extra little bonuses. So we have 3 copies of Immobulus. Gaining attack. If you defeat a creature, also remove 1 control from the location. 2 copies of Deplucio. Choose 1, gain 2 influence, or bash an item in your hand or discard pile. And then we have 3 copies of the Monster Book of Monsters. So gain 1 attack, and then roll the creature die. Alright, we have some new locations. We have the DADA class, Defense Against the Dark Arts Classroom. So this would get you 6 locations you have to control. We have the Tassel Hallways, which has another 6. And then we jump up to the Whomping Willow, which has 7. So this again should have almost been like, this should have an effect on some of these. To give some of the later ones, at least with the level 3s, this should have at least had one there. It should have been like, when this is revealed, each player takes like 1 damage, right? So Whomping Willow will smack you around. That would have been kind of fun. We have some brand new creatures. We have the Bogart, everyone's favorite Snape shape-shifting creature. Ron's nightmare. So it said, was it Ron? I think it was Ron. Maybe, no, Ron's just spiders. Was this? Was this, whose was this? I don't remember. Maybe this was Harry's. I don't remember. No, Harry, because Harry had the Dementor, of course. Was it Neville? It could have been Neville. Anyhow, just roll the creature dice. So it says, if you gain a heart, though, remove 1 attack and or influence from all creatures. It says remove double hearts, remove 1 attack or influence from all creatures. Roll the location, add a control to the location. Roll the attack. All heroes lose 1 heart, and then either discard 1 card or active hero discards 2 cards. From all creatures and villains. So interesting. Reward you to roll a creature die again. So this is a neat one. This is one new thing they also add, which is cool. So you have to have 3 influence and 5 damage. But you can only add 1 influence per turn. So this will take a bare minimum of at least 3 turns to take him out. So that does make the game a little bit more challenging by adding some of this stuff. Now, it would be cool if they would have updated A bunch of the other core set characters to be like that too. Like, some of them maybe you could pay off and add some different things. Here we have the werewolf. If the active hero loses 4 or more health, add 1 control to the location. Reward. All heroes choose 1. Gain 1 influence or 2 health and remove a control from the location. And then the last one is we have Stabbers, who's a villain creature. Says active hero reveals the top card of his or her deck. If the value is 1 or more influence, discard it and lose 2 health. And then reward. All heroes may search the discard pile for a card with 3 or more, or 3 or less, and put it in their hand, and then remove 1 influence, or 1 control. Cool. Alright, so we got some dark arts. We have the Grim. So it says, the active hero discards a card, added control to the location. We have 2 copies of Transformed. Active hero discards a card in their hand, and then puts a detention in their hand. 2 copies of Vicious Bite. All heroes with the lowest health lose 2 health. Then stuns a hero also add 1 additional control to the location. 2 copies of Bombarda. All heroes put a detention in their discard pile. So these are going to add a lot more detention stuff. Then we have some events. We have Unregistered Animagus. So Stabbers and Peter Pettigrew. So you have to have Stabbers in here with all his Peter said to add him anyhow. There are 2 or more controls on the location. Active hero loses 1 health. Assign 5 or more damage in 1 turn. Once per game, you may discard this and roll the creature dice twice. We have event 2, encounter 2, Full Moon Rises for Werewolf and Finger Greyback. Each time a control location is added to the location, the active hero puts a detention in their hand. To complete, defeat 3 villains and or creatures in 1 turn. This can be very interesting because you might have to just save up and be like, okay, we got him down to like 1 health left or 1 influence left, and just someone on the next turn just needs to be able to okay, I can do enough to defeat all 3 of these guys in 1 turn. If not, you might have to go multiple turns. Someone's like, oh, we need 3 damage. So I can only do 2 damage, right? I can't do the 3rd damage. So someone might have to be like, alright, I'll also have to skip my turn, not defeat anybody, because you don't want to defeat them, have to start a brand new character. So very interesting. On the note, though, you do not have to defeat these encounters to defeat Voldemort, right? So you could just defeat everybody and then still beat him and win the game. These just are good so you don't have them extra bad things happening. Once per game, you may discard this, then all heroes gain 3 health and may banish a card in their hand or discard pile. And then the last one is we have Defensive Training, which uses the Bogart. Heroes cannot remove controls from the location. Complete, you need to play up to 3 counters on there. So we had one in the first game, they had 1 or the other, so it didn't matter, but now we have ones to put on these to match those symbols. So as we defeat them, we have stuff to cover each one. So very cool. So that's box number 2. Had the new dice in there, which is really neat. Alright, then we're going to hop into box number 3. So this doesn't add any new mechanics to the game. Well, it does. It does and it doesn't. It doesn't add any new, physical items, I should say. Not mechanics. But what do we have in here for box 3? Scooch this stuff over a bit. So we have, use only the box 3 locations, shuffle all the dark arts, use only the encounters from box 3. It says creature cards, shuffle the Dolores Umbridge with 7 other randomly selected villains or creatures, although you have to check your encounter cards. You place the game 7 Lord Voldemorts. Now we place fought the 3 Voldemorts. Shuffle all your Hogwarts, and we have brand new Patronus cards. These cards are hero specific and replace a proficiency above your playboard. So hero set, similar to starting cards, Patronus cards are hero specific and seen on the banner in the middle of the card. Place your hero card and associated Patronus above your playboard. If you prefer, you may choose your proficiency instead of using your Patronus, but you may not have both. So this kind of gives everyone just a little bit more options, which is kind of a fun little idea. I think the Patronus are a little bit more powerful than the proficiencies, but they're also more specific. So I'm not going to go through read each one of that. I don't mind the details, but it says Gameplay is the same with the last 4 steps, but step 1, reveal the dark arts, events, and encounter. So the first encounter requires dice rolls to complete. Both Ron and Luna's roll dice to use a Hogwarts card. However, Luna is forced to discard a card and another card. She chooses a spell, it does not allow her to roll her die. So we'll see what that means. Otherwise, resolve creatures, end your turn, all the other stuff stays the same. There's no, brand new breaking rules. But we're going to have a brand new ally. We have Creature the House Elf. So here's our second House Elf to work with that, the socks. Because we had the socks early on, but we only would have had Gobby. But now we have Creature as well. Roll the Creature, guys. Any one hero may banish a card in their hand or discard pile. We have the Threstrials, the invisible horses. All heroes choose one, gain 1 influence or 2 hearts. And then we have Grip Hook, the Goblin. Draw 3 cards and discard any 2 cards. For each item discard this way, gain 2 influence. We have 2 new spells in Nox. Gain 1 attack. All heroes may bash a card in their hand or discard pile. We have new items. We have the Confront, Erumpent Horn. Oh, I don't know why that was such a hard word. Lose 2 health and gain 3 attack. So this is one of the few cards we have in the Hogwarts deck that actually actively can hurt you to gain you a bonus. And I actually think that's a neat thing. I wish they would have put on a little bit more. Just sometimes you have to take damage for stuff. Just kind of not a bad thing. And then we have, other than discarding cards sometimes, we have 2 copies of Lacewing Flies. Any one hero draws a card. If you discard this, gain an attack. So this is kind of a nice one. If you're forced to discard for something, you at least gain a bonus for it. Awesome. So before we look at the locations, let's look at our brand new Patronus. So they're going to have the little Patronus picture on the front. So we have Harry's Stag. So his says, when another hero is about to be stunned, you may discard a spell and lose 2 health. If you do, instead of being stunned, set that hero's heart to 2, and that hero cannot lose any more hearts this turn. So, yeah, the proficiencies are going to be a lot of stuff like, if this card is played or if that thing was played, you get a gain a little bonus for it. This is going to be a little bit more specific. So it's just going to be Harry can use this to help guys being stunned. So if you maybe find yourselves being stunned too often, this could maybe help you out. For Hermione's, we have the Otter. So it's once per turn, you may discard 1 influence to reveal the top card of your deck. If the card is a spell, draw it and gain an attack. So she likes to have works with her signature ability of gaining extra attack cards. So she definitely wants to be doing that. Just wanted to see, do we have, just in the new hero cards from this set, how well they worked. Yeah, so here, Harry's is all about healing stuff, like his original one, or this set at least. So the location group, he can heal guys, the other one can help protect guys. Hers, of course, if you play 4 or more spells, they give out attacks, so this helps her get more spells out. Ron's ability is the Carrier, and he has once per turn you may discard an attack. If you do, roll the Gryffindor die, which will give you more influence cards, which you buy more stuff. And it's just kind of opposite of what his is on here. So if you assign 3 or more attack or influence on your turn, all heroes gain 1 heart. So it could kind of work with that. You could discard an attack, but you could potentially roll the die and gain some influence out of it instead. I love Neville's. He has non-corporeal. Because he never actually showed up when his Patronus in the movies. So it says if a hero would gain 3 or more health on your turn, that hero gains an attack. How does that work with his? It says the first time each hero gains health on its turn, they gain 1 additional health or influence. So yeah, if they gain 3, then they also gain an attack. So it kind of just works very well together. And then finally we have Luna's, who's the rabbit. It says once per turn you may discard a spell. If you do, you get to roll the Ravenclaw die. And then this one is just, if you end up drawing an extra card on your turn, you gain 1 health. With the Ravenclaw, you have 3 chances of drawing cards. So it's really neat. They really focus to work like where the proficiencies were kind of more generic, and they worked kind of with anything. These ones really kind of honing on their specific abilities. I don't know how well they focus with the outside of Luna. I don't know how the rest of them work with the other decks. It's something I have to look at later on. Cool, but that's really cool that we got those. Alright, so we have our locations. We have Unicorn Hollow, so it says 5. We have Aragog's Lair, which now ups it to 6 in 2 Dark Arts. And then we have the Giant's Clearing, which gives you 3. Alright, then we have some creatures. So, speaking with those creatures, we have, for our Giant, we have Gwarp. The active hero has 6 or more cards in hand. That hero loses 2 health. Reward: all heroes draw 2 cards and discards any 1. We could also have Aragog, the Spider. For each creature active, the hero loses 1 health. All heroes gain 2 health and 1 influence. Remove a control from the location. So someone like him, he is out. If there's only other villains out, you're always going to have to take at least 1 health anyhow. But if there end up being a bunch more creatures, your goal is to either focus on knocking out them other creatures quicker, maybe they're a little bit cheaper and easier to take out, or you have to focus on him. And I kind of like little abilities like that. They just force you to do a specific, go a specific direction, like what you want to do. We have the Centaurs. So active heroes choose 1, lose 2 health, or discard a spell card. Rewards: all heroes may search their discard pile for a spell and put it in their hand. Remove 1 control from the location. These guys only have the influence. And then the last one is we have the Ukrainian Iron Belly. The active hero has at least 1 ally and item in hand. That hero loses 3 health. And reward: all heroes gain 2 health and remove 1 control from the location. Awesome. So then we're going to have our Dark Arts cards. So we're actually going to have 2 copies of Centaur Attack. All heroes that have 3 or more spells in their hand lose 1 heart. Fight and Flight, add 2 controls to the location. 2 copies of Acromantula Attack. All heroes reveal the top card of their deck. Heroes that reveal a card with no value, discard it, and lose 1 health. So that could be your starting cards or a detention card. 2 copies of Seriously Misunderstood Creatures. Roll the creature dice. For the hearts, remove 1 attack and or influence from all creatures. For the card draws, all heroes discard a card. For the attack, all heroes take the damage, and the control, add 1 control to the location. And then we get another Bombardia, so I'll give us 3 of those. For our events, or our encounters rather, we have the Forbidden Forest. We need Aragog and Gwarp. If there are 2 or more face-up creatures active, hero loses 1 heart. You have to place all 3 of those, so that's going to be a little bit tricky to do. But now with the Patronus, this could potentially be easier with Ron and Luna if you're playing as them, because they have a die roll right off the bat that they can potentially use. So each time you roll a die, you may choose to re-roll it once. The Filthy Half-Breeds. Use a Centaur and Dolores Umbrage. If there are 2 or more spells available to acquire, active hero loses 1 heart. To complete, play at least 3 different cards with different influence values in 1 turn. Reward: once per game, you may discard this. All heroes draw a card, and they may banish a card in their hand. And then the last one is Escape. So the Ukrainian Iron Belly. So each time you're playing active hero, each time the active hero plays an item or ally, that hero loses 1 health. And then play 6 spells in 1 turn. Again, 6 spells is kind of difficult because you only draw 5 cards on your turn, so you're going to have to do something that lets you draw extra cards. Which, again, like Luna could be good at because she could roll extra dice and get some. Rewards: once per game, you discard this, remove 2 control from location. Alright, so we are finally on to box number 4, the last box of this expansion. So let's take a look at the new rules. So we have locations, use box 4, same thing. Shuffle Dark Arts, shuffle all them. Encounters, use this stack. Lord Voldemort card. This replaces games 5, 6, and 7 Lord Voldemort. So now we have a fourth one we get to play as. So it's kind of fun there. Shuffle creatures cards, shuffle them with the 8 randomly other selected villains into the creatures stack. So this one plus 8 other creatures. And then shuffle all the Hogwarts cards. So no new mechanics in this one. Choose a hero, select the proficiency of your associated Patronus, not both. Take your 10 cards, start for battle. Proceeds the same. Resolving villain creatures, just as only one influence can be assigned to each creature on each turn. The same is true for Lord Voldemort. It will take at least 7 turns to defeat him. So very interesting there. Once he can assign attack in that, you still have to defeat everything else to be able to add stuff to him. So we have... this is actually if you want to replay everything with that. So look at that at the end. Let's take a look at what our cards are. So our new Hogwarts cards is we have some fun allies from the Triwizard Tournament. We have Madame Maxime. Gain 2 attack and all heroes gain 2 health. We have Igor Karlkroft. Gain 2 attack. If you defeat a villain, also gain 1 attacking influence. We have 2 new spells. We have Priori Incantatum. Choose a spell you have played this turn. You may copy the effects of that spell. The Golden Egg. Play with 2 attack. Gain 2 attack, 1 influence, and draw a card. So if we crack this from the Triwizard Tournament, it's kind of fun. We have 2 copies of the Gillyweed. Gain 1 heart for each ally played this turn. Any 1 hero gains a heart. And then we have 1 Dragon's Blood. So this will get us... All heroes gain 3 health. You may assign 1 additional influence to a creature this turn. So very cool. Alright, then we have some new locations. We have 4 of these in this one. So a selection of champions. So we're adding some new stuff into the... This is kind of interesting. This is box 4. This is the last one I set, but we're going to the Triwizard Tournament, which I think took place in game 4. So it's just kind of interesting that we're doing that. Yeah, so we have the... Just 5 there has 1 Dark Arts. We have the Dragon Arena. I'm going to go ahead and fight in there. We have the Mermaid Village. And then finally, we have the Triwizard Mage. When this location is revealed, remove 1 attack and influence from all creatures. So it goes back like I like to have these little abilities on there. That I think is really fun. Alright, then we have a bunch of creatures to go with our locations. So we have the Chinese Fireball. Reveal an additional Dark Arts event each turn, and then roll the creature dice to remove 1 control from the location. We have the common Welsh Green. Each time a new creature is revealed, all heroes lose 2 health, and reward all heroes gain 2 influence. I like that some of these are influences and some are hearts. It kind of makes them different. We have the Swedish Short Note. So this one actually going to roll the Hufflepuff dice. So on a heart, remove all damage from all creatures. On the influence, remove all influence from all creatures. On attack, remove all heroes lose 1 heart. And a card, all heroes put 1 detention in their hand. Rewards, roll the Hufflepuff and the creature die. So it's interesting here. It says remove all 1 damage from all creatures. So when you roll a Hufflepuff dice, actually you're going to get the most is hearts, if I remember right. So you're going to potentially always be removing 1 damage every turn from all creatures to make it a little bit harder. Then we have the Hungarian Horntail. Other villains and creatures may not be assigned to damage, so you have to take this guy out first. Reward, roll the creature dice and remove 1 control from the location. We head to the Mermaid Lagoon. We have the Grindylow. If the active hero has 2 or more allies in hand, add 1 control of the location. Remove 1 control from the location. And then we have the Mermaid. Heroes cannot gain attack or influence from allies. Reward, all heroes may search their discard pile for an ally and put it in their hand and remove 1 control. And then we have the big boss of the game, Voldemort, at 25 health and 7 influence. So he goes up from game 5 is 10, then the game 6 1 is 15 health, then the game 7 1, or is that 5 6 7? Yeah, 5 6 7. Then game 7 he had 20 health. So now he's up to 25 health, and you have to have 7 influence. It's going to take you at least 7 turns, no matter what. You can somehow get lucky and deal 25 damage all in 1 turn. You still have to wait 7 turns to take him out. So active hero loses 2 health and adds 1 controller location. Each time a hero is stunned and 1 additional controller location may not be assigned attack or influence until all other creatures and villains are defeated. And then if you're also playing with the Horcruxes, now it's going to add that in there as well. Yeah, so it makes them even more difficult just because the last location always has at least 7. I don't think any of them have 8. So if he comes out and the last location is just starting to reveal, you're not going to be able to defeat him in time unless you have some way to remove stuff. Actually, you'll exactly think you'll have 7 turns. You go 7 turns ahead of time. Or this will activate before you get to play your cards. Yeah, he'd actually win before you get to play your last thing, unless you can remove at least 1, and assuming you don't get stunned. So yeah, very, very interesting. Alright, then we have some new Dark Arts. So we have Dragon's Breath. Active hero loses 1 heart and discards all items. We have another Inquisitorial Squad, gets detention cards out. So we have 2 of those in another set. Then we have 3 copies of Leprechaun Gold. All heroes discard any attacking influence they have collected. Our first encounter uses the 4 dragons. The first task, now we're playing through the Triwizard Cup here. So again, kind of fun we get to do that. Whenever a hero assigns 2 or more attack to a villain or creature, that hero loses 2 health. To complete, acquire items with a total that I believe 7 in 1 turn. And acquire means purchase them from the store. Once per game, you may discard this to roll any 2 Hogwarts house dice. The second task uses the mermaids and the grindy lows. If the active hero does not have an ally in hand, add 1 control location. Acquire 2 allies in 1 turn. Reward, once per game, you may discard this to remove all control from the location and all heroes draw a card. Remove 1 control from the location and all heroes draw a card. Remove all of them would be freaking incredible. And then the third task, you have to fight against Lord Voldemort. Active hero, this should have been something with the maze, to be honest. It would have made more sense. So active hero loses 2 hearts. And then you have to draw 3 hearts to do that. Once per game, you discard this and all heroes return to its maximum. So obviously you can beat this. Then you can at least protect yourself against Voldemort at the end. So that is what we have for all of this box set. So last thing we did want to look at in here was replaying the Hogwarts battle with the Monster Box of Monsters expansion. To randomize feature game, sort the encounters from each of this box into 3 piles. From each box into 3 piles of 1 3s, 2 of 3s, and 3 of 3s. Shuffle and choose an encounter from each pile. These will be your encounters for the game. So you're still going to play against all 3 encounters in the game, but you might do the first task, then you might have to go fight the students out of bed, and then you might do whatever a third one is, So you're randomized, you're always going to play 3 encounters, but you don't know which 3 you're going to do, so it's going to make the game a little bit more interesting. To create the 15-card villain and creature stack, first select the creatures and villains associated with the encounters. So there's going to be potentially up to 6 of them. 2, 4, 6 from each. Except for if you have the dragons, then you'd actually have 8, but that might be different. Then shuffle them with the additional randomly chosen villain and creatures to equal 14. Finally, place the box 4 Lord Voldemort on the bottom of the stack. So that would be the first one we got. Or the one we just got with the box 4 with the 25 and the 7. So you want to play him as the final villain. For a more challenging game, increase the number of cards in the stack by 2 or 3. So you could add a couple more villains in the game if you want to make the game play a little bit longer. So it says to increase the double in the game, add 1 or 2 control of first location, add that. So the same thing we had there. Want to play an epic Harry Potter battle game against all the villains and creatures? First you'll need locations 1 of 3, the castle gates from box 1, plus all 4 locations from box 4. Stack them in order, placing the castle gates on top. Place all 3 randomly selected encounters in order on the top of all Horcruxes in the center of the game board. So you're going to use 4 locations from this set. I don't know why specifically you need to have the castle gates, because it doesn't have anything special on it. And then this one, I think the only reason you have these is because right off the bat, there's 6 7s. So they're a little bit harder ones. But again, you could probably mix in some of the other ones. You just don't want to have too many with low location counts. So just place 3 randomly selected encounters on the top of all the Horcruxes in the center of the game board. So now here it says it says 3 of them, so you can do the same thing before, going a 1, a 2, and a 3. Or you could just randomly shuffle all of them and mix any of them in there, which would be a little bit more different instead. Now this is what's fun here. Place all 4 Lord Voldemort cards in order, 5, 6, 7, and then box 4. On the bottom of the Village Creature stack, face up. If you make it to the end, you'll face Lord Voldemort at the first time, 1 Voldemort at a time, from 5, 6, 7, and then finally box 4. Remember, he cannot be assigned damage until after you defeat the last one. So that's a very interesting way to play the game. So now you're fighting all 4 versions of Lord Voldemort. In succession. So you have a 10, a 15, a 20, and a 25 at the end. But you have to defeat everything else first. So that's a very interesting way. It's like a super powerful one. Now, to note that in the Charms and Expansion set, they do have a different way of setting up the game for everything else, which I'll read more in thorough if you watch that set, because a quick, brief thing is they switch up how Voldemort works. Instead of putting all 4 at the end, this way I think this makes a lot more sense and more fun for the game, as you shuffle them into the middles of the deck. So you play like a couple of creatures, and you fight Voldemort pops up. Then you play a couple of creatures, Voldemort shows up. Then you play a few more, Voldemort shows up, and then he shows up at the end. So the first 3 you can defeat at any point, but then when you get to the last one, you have to kill everything else first. So it's like, it kind of makes it interesting, because then you have them like you're facing like a little bit more hard, like, oh, as he's weakening, he's getting more powerful. So it kind of makes a little bit more sense that way. Alright, so that's what we have for this video. There'll be if you want to know kind of how all the cards and stuff stack, I'll add on to the end of this video, though, a little brief thing, which I'm going to add to the end of all the videos, showing how you can sort everything out together. Alright, so there we go. So a quick change. I was going to do, end the video with showing how you combine everything into one box between the base game and the expansions. I decided to move that into a separate video, which will be in the link in the descriptions, along with the, all the core set and the expansions, if you want to check out each individual video, or check out that. I'll also kind of be doing a comparison to some of the cards in between, like looking at the different levels of each of the main heroes and different Voldemort and stuff like that. So, yeah, head over and check that out if you want to see some more content. See you guys later. Bye.